Alright guys, welcome back to Point Blank. Okay, so now you can see that this room is full of youngins, and I know that we're supposed to be trashing it out tonight on the issue of PDA, but we had to get the point of view of the adults. So I talked to Dr. Millie Rivera from the Communications and New Media program at NUS to get her take on PDA and the web. Check it out.
Okay. Tonight's show may be all about the youth, but in the age when your stolen kiss on the MRT last night may be the topic of this morning's websites, we could use a little help from an expert. Dr. Millie Rivera sheds light on public display of affection in the digital age.
How do you think have new media platforms affected the way we perceive public displays of affection among the youth? Is it really as bad as we think it is?
It probably is not. We probably see more of it now because it's recorded and then it's presented in some platform where people can go back and look at it. And once you have one such display put online, then other people feel compelled to put their own displays that they've witnessed, and suddenly there's kind of a viral effect that gives you the impression that everybody in Singapore is doing it. It probably is not.
So it's nothing new, but why is it suddenly become such a spectacle now that you can put it out on the internet?
As I said, when somebody captures something and puts it online, and it creates a stream of discussion, and others then contribute, oh yeah. And in reality, what you have is a few cases that people just cut them, okay? And so it suddenly gives the impression that everybody's doing it, that it's happening in greater numbers. But in reality, it's just that people are actually responding to each other. And then you create this little group of people who are always on the lookout for these kinds of things. And believe me, if you look for something, you're likely to find it.
Now that we see that there is a considerable impact of new media platforms on the way we live our lives, right? So what do you think will be the consequences of that in the near future?
Well, I think the time when you could go out there and yell at somebody and be rude to somebody and get away with it without it appearing in Stump or some other media platform is probably over, you know. When you are now in public spaces, you really have to be aware that you are potentially likely to be filmed by somebody or photographed by somebody, and that may end up somewhere where you never anticipated. And that's just a reality because this equipment is everywhere. It's in every device that we carry. And so the tendency of people now to just snap a picture at something that in the past they might have observed and moved on from. Now there's this added incentive to just document it.
Where do you think people's sense of humanity goes whenever they see someone, you know, like two kids sitting on the bus and kissing and then they snap it out? Do you think that they don't really think or realize the consequences that this might bring to their subjects once they post it online?
I would think perhaps not. I think people usually just go for the immediate feeling and they don't realize that these two kids, perhaps, if they put this online and suddenly it gets to their parents, there's going to be consequences, or it gets to their school officials or whatever. So there may be an element of punishment in some of the actions of individuals who object to certain types of public affection displays, you know, by young people. If you don't like it, I'm just going to put it online and get you in trouble.
We've heard of cases wherein they're stripped of their council titles or they're reprimanded by their teachers and their school gives them harsh punishment. So do you think this is a proportionate response to something that might not be such a new phenomena after all?
Well, perhaps. But you have to remember, in the past, if somebody said, oh, I saw so-and-so doing X, Y, or Z, you had somebody's word against somebody else's word. Now, if you say, I saw somebody doing X, Y, and Z, and here's the picture, now you have evidence. And if certain schools have specific standards of behavior that they wish their students holding some kind of office to have, that's going to have consequences. So you don't want to necessarily think that the people out there are out to get the youngsters. There's a level of responsibility that has to come with being a young adult in a public place.
What's your advice for young adults who would like to display their affection for each other in public?
Don't do it in public. Anytime you're outside, you are likely to be a target of anyone who goes by and decides to take a picture of you. So if you really want to avoid any kind of problem, just don't do it, because you have zero control of what happens outside of your immediate environment. And if you're engaged in a public display of affection, chances are you're totally unaware of what's around you. Behave in a way that your parents would not object to if there were to be aware of something that you were doing. That's probably the safest thing to do.
Yeah.
If you care what your parents think.
Okay, so let's explore who is more wrong. The person who is doing threesome in a car park lot, or the person who's taking photos of
the threesome and posting it on the internet.
Yeah. Who is more wrong?
First, I think that the threesome in a car park is not your typical example of public display of affection. So I think using that as an example is just wrong. If you see people on the street for holding hands or kissing or hugging or whatever it is, that's typically what public displays of affection involve. And for people to go around capturing that on camera and placing it up on the internet, as I said earlier, it's probably for malicious reasons or for self-promotion, right? Like the show. So it's... I think that you've got to give people their private space, and you can't assume that because it's in public, they want it seen by the world. That's not an assumption that the person taking the photo should make. Yeah, that's my perspective.
But isn't doing it in public just asking for it?
Yeah, it's public. I can do whatever I want to do.
Well, I guess,
Marvin?
you know, the person that's doing it, yeah, you know, if you don't want it to be seen, don't do it. But for the one that's taking the pictures, I mean, it's still invasion of privacy. Even if you just take a picture of a person walking on the street without their permission, it's still invasion of privacy. Just that this one has naked people on it. So it's, you know, I think both have their faults.
But like as Sarah was asking earlier, what is really public or private these days with the internet and all of that? So yeah, what do you guys think about it? Like, there's really, this concept of, like, privacy is slowly eroding with the emergence of technology, so...
I think the bottom line here is the people who are doing it and getting caught, I don't think they're the ones complaining. I think the ones complaining are the ones watching it. So I don't think it's a problem of who's at fault here, because people doing it, they know that there's the risk of being found out, of being taken. So I think it's just the people who are watching it.
Do you think there's a portion of the people watching it that are actually happy watching it?
I think a large portion. Actually.
Yeah.
It's interesting TV. It's interesting, yeah.
I don't know, it makes me wonder who's taking photos and videos of me and posting them on the internet. So I think one question that you've got to ask yourself is, would you be comfortable with someone recording your public acts of affection and posting them online for the world to see? If you're not alright with that, then you have your answer to your question of whether you think it's acceptable or who's in the wrong right over there. And I don't think that I would be alright with that happening, which is why I take the perspective that I think it's wrong for someone to post it up on the internet. It's my very simple litmus test. It might be wrong, but yeah, that's the way I view it.
That's true. Okay, I was talking to actually my editor just now, my video editor, and he's from London. And I was just saying, doing the topic on PDA and people taking photos of people doing PDA. And he was like, oh, you mean this thing happened in Singapore?
Oh.
Yeah, he was shocked. And because I suppose PDA, it's all over the place in London, and people taking photos of other people is just invasion of privacy. Is the person has a mental problem, he's a voyeurist. Yeah, so what's wrong with our society?
Yeah, what do you guys think? Are we just like naturally voyeurs? Is that why? Sarah, what do you think?
I think that these people who take it and post it online, I think they have nothing better to do. Like, I think to them, they think in Singapore it's like a new phenomenon, you know? Like, oh, look, we're becoming more westernized. I mean, we see it on TV every day, like all those teen flicks or videos and movies, everything. We see those kind of things every other day. But when it happens in Singapore, it's like, oh, you know?
Yeah.
It's like big news, posted online and the whole world sees kind.
Okay. Actually, you are a law student, right?
Yes.
So, actually, one part of the problem is because we don't have privacy laws in Singapore. That's why everybody's like, taking photos, I don't care. So, is that a problem that we should tackle on?
I'm not sure it's a problem that the law can solve, because the internet is ubiquitous and it is difficult to regulate. And any country, even with privacy, the most sophisticated privacy laws in the world can tell you that. I mean, even if you look at countries like the United Kingdom, one of the biggest problems they have is with the paparazzi invading private space, right? I mean, you saw that entire Princess Diana debacle that took place in the late 1990s. And it's extremely difficult to regulate something like the internet. So I think that what you're going to have to rely on, at least as far as public displays of affection is concerned, is public morality. and knowing, you know, when exactly to draw that line and where exactly it should be drawn.
And I think a more economic, viable way to, if you want to regulate all this, is the people who produce the cameras, the phones and all these things. Because I think one reason why there's the big hoo-ha about all these things is because suddenly our cameras have like so many gig of space. You can take photos, you can take videos, and it's just, you know, you can just do it. Anybody can do it. I mean, everyone has a phone now. I mean, camera, definitely somebody has a camera. So I think to regulate this, these people will be the ones that maybe get controlled first. But I think these measures are happening. Like, I think some camera phones, I mean, most camera phones, I think there's a law, I'm not too sure about that there's a sound if you take a photo. Like, I think many years ago, you can just take, you know, without being heard.
So the people, your subjects are actually going to be able to catch you or something, like if they're here. Okay, so let's ask Nicole. Knowing that, you know, this whole idea of, like, doing it in public, you will run the risk of getting caught on camera and getting on the internet. Would that make you more careful about what you do in public?
Cause in so many like publications and like magazines and like chick lit books, it's like a thrill to actually like do it in public kind of thing. And like probably if you don't get caught and you get away with it, it's even more thrilling for you to do it again. So like probably because I might run the risk of getting caught. Like that's just a small percentage. Like, you know, the higher percentage would be like having fun. And you're probably gonna have a lot more fun, especially if you don't get caught. So yeah.
Okay, looks like But unfortunately, that's the. Oh no, we don't have any more time for this show. Yes,
that's it.
Yeah, that's it.
But I do have a rhythm for the day, and that is, if you want to go do it, get a room.
Get a room.
Good night.
Okay, thank you. Bye.